What is up, geeks and geekettes? It's another episode of the Countdown to the Geekcast, and this is going to be a very special episode because tonight we are reviewing Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. My name is Ted. My name is Ted, aka Steady, and joining me as always, the man behind the magic, Joe Garcia.
Hey, thanks for joining us, everybody. And you know what? Big shout out to Tommy, man, for joining us on the show, bringing that lovely smile and that energy, man. Love you, Tommy.
Thank you for having me, guys. Appreciate it. Could not wait to talk about this one, man. Oh my God, I haven't been to a Thursday night premiere for a movie in years because I usually wait to the weekends now. But This one came out. I talked to my wife like last Sunday. I was like, "So when are we going?" Because I was seeing it opening weekend. I was like, "This movie's getting my money." Let's just be honest here.
No doubt, dude.
It's a must. Yeah. It's a must.
It was a. You know what's funny? Quick meta thing. There was a guy selling art because we saw at the Flix Brew House here in San Antonio. It's right off 1604, and there was an artist outside, and he had these really cool art art prints for sale. I bought. He had like 4 or 5 Black Panther related ones. I bought 3 of them. I have nowhere to put them. I mean, like I know you guys see that there's empty wall space, but believe me, this is because I haven't filled this wall up yet. I have nowhere to put them. Bought 3. Regret nothing. But oh my God, this movie, yeah.
So glad you're here, man. I knew in my head, I know how big of a Marvel fan Mike is. I know how much of a comic book fan you are. So
yes,
I put it out there. I was like, hey, Tommy, Mike, if you guys are down, man, we'll talk Wakanda Forever. And I know Mike's a busy guy, so he couldn't make it, but I'm so glad you're here. It's perfect. I'm glad you're here to talk about this.
Yeah, tomorrow's gonna be. Yeah, he's got students to worry about. So I have students to worry about too, but they're a bit more adult. Just as silly with their work when I read their papers. Let's call a spade here. But he's got more to deal with.
Shout out to Mike wherever you're at. So you're here in spirit. Enjoy, get a good night's rest before you got to go to class tomorrow.
For sure.
As already mentioned, this is going to be our Black Panther Wakanda Forever review. And if you haven't been a part of our reviews before, not to worry, we're not going to start out with any spoilers just yet. We're going to go around, talk about our general thoughts about the movie, real quick, 5-10 minutes, no spoilers at all. And then right before we jump into the details of the movie, I'll go ahead and let you guys know when it's time to pause the video if you haven't seen the movie yet. And then you can come back and check out the rest of it. How's that sound? Yeah?
Pause it, go find your nearest showing, then come back into
and leave the screen open. Just don't go anywhere. Leave the screen open. Check out the movie. Come on right back. Hit play and let the magic happen.
There you go.
Joe, I'm going to start with you, man. You know how this goes. Your general thoughts about Wakanda Forever.
Well, I mean, it's probably one of the longest running MCU films. I give it that, and it took a while for things to really start unfolding, which was a good thing. You didn't want to just see everything right at once, so you really had to let the story build up. And I really appreciated that about this particular film, how it was really based on character development and, just some of the things that they put in, especially in the intro and some of that kind of stuff pulls at your heartstrings and all that, dead silence, dude, when that intro started and everybody was just dead quiet, dude, just like, wow, and then the way that they paid, tribute to the late Chadwick Boseman was very classy, man. I thought they did it in a really tasteful manner. And, as somebody, like I was telling you and Tommy off screen, who's experienced death quite a bit this year, unfortunately, losing a close friend of mine and some family members here. You think you're ready, and you go into the film thinking, okay, I can handle this, but you can't. It makes you start rethinking those things again and those memories and, some of those feelings just come out in this film. And that's one of the things that I appreciated about the film is that it had a lot of heart, a lot of passion. And, it was a mix of emotions and it was a very, very powerful emotions that came out in this film, and that's one of the things that I think a lot of MCU fans really appreciated about this particular film,
Absolutely. Well said. Tommy, same thing. general thoughts, sort of general overview. How did the film make you feel?
To start off, give Angela Bassett an Oscar now. That's like the first thing I'm thinking because first of
Absolutely.
all, she should have several Oscars already. She doesn't. That proves that the Academy Awards is kind of bullcrap because if that woman got several awards, then who does and why not her? Anyway, but no, she. I'll tell everyone this who hasn't seen it yet. It feels like to me everyone stepped up their acting because they knew they were doing it for Chadwick. To me, it felt like they all stepped up their acting for that. I feel like Letitia Wright. I knew she was a good actress. I had no idea she was that good until this movie. I
Yeah.
believed every second she was on screen. I believed because like I remember her being silly and kind of serious when she had to be in the first one. But to me, it felt like every scene she like was doing like she had her acting down up to a 10, and good for her because she earned it. I told you guys I was gonna say this when we started. I got to explain this. My history with Namor as a character. I hate Namor as a character. He is the most irritating Marvel character to me because I've never seen a guy lose more often than Namor and still walk into every room like he commands it. And I'm like, I tell everyone this. I was like, I can't think of one Marvel character Namor has not lost a fight to. I cannot name one. I think Doctor Doom is friends with him simply because he's like, I pity him at this point. He has taken more L's than anyone. You know what? I'll be your friend, bro. Because good God, I don't even lose to Reed Richards as much as you lose to everybody. So, but that being said, this actor did nothing to change my opinion of Namor. I still hate him, and I mean that in the best way because he acted like that. Because he acted that pretentious, snarky, "I rule the world" attitude to a T. I still hate Namor, and I mean this is a good thing. The guy who played him did an amazing job. This whole movie
Oh
was
yeah.
just fantastic. I love the slow burn of it. Like, it had the MCU action, which I watch MCU movies for, so I'm not mad about that. But I felt like this one had the most heart out of all of them so far. And and of course it had to, but I feel like they really knew it. And Ryan Coogler and his team, Kevin Feige, all just, they was like, you know what? Everyone, I feel like this is also kind of a way everyone could kind of grieve for Chadwick at the same time, like fans all over the world. And I feel like they did that. They created the perfect way to grieve for him.
Absolutely. The way you're describing Namor in the comics, he kind of sounds like the Miz of the MCU.
I'll put it this way:
Would you agree with that?
if Namor and the Miz could form a tag team, and the fact that they would cut promos about how good they are, despite the fact that like Bobby Lashley and Captain America would come beat them up immediately after they got through talking, would make too much sense because they would both get on the mic. They may have beaten us, but we're still the best. Right, Namor? Yes, I'm still king of Atlanta. Oh my God, he punched me in the chest so many times. Dude,
Oh
no,
man.
like, dude, you have to read. There are certain comics that like I read, and like when I read Namor has a story again, he's in another story. It's like I am the king and blah blah blah. I'm like, didn't you get dropped like 4 years ago by like everybody? Why are you still talking? Avengers
my
versus X-Men was the peak of my irritation with Namor. If you guys have ever read it, because it gets so much worse because to spoil that comic a bit, it's like 7 years old now, so who cares? He gets part of the Phoenix Force, and I don't know if the Phoenix Force amplifies arrogance, but it did for him. So he became so much worse after I was like, oh God, Namor with more power. He's never going to shut up now. And he didn't. Every panel had like at least 30 sentences from him. I was like, can you let someone else talk in this comic now? So
There
that's
are
my
other
Namor rant.
characters
Yeah, I
in the
know,
comic.
right? I was like, Avengers and X-Men, why is Namor talking so much? So that's my
The
Namor rant. Sorry.
the actor you're referring to is Tenoch Huerta.
I was
Tenoch,
not going to butcher his name, and I knew you could probably say it better than me.
and actually, I've also seen it. I've also seen him recently change it to Tenoch Huerta Mejia. So I don't know if it's
Oh,
change or maybe that's the original way he used to write it. And he wanted to shorten it for American audiences. I don't know, but
well, at this
I'm gonna
point,
start
no.
with him. I'm gonna start
Yeah.
with him and piggyback off you. I know Mr. Huerta from Narcos Mexico. He played a lieutenant in one of the cartels. This is all based on true events, maybe a little bit, dramatized for TV, but his character in that series is the absolute most menacing and ferocious character. And so when Marvel says we're going to use that guy for Namor, I'm like, look, I'm in. I already love what he was doing on Narcos Mexico, but yeah. So to be honest, it was actually a step down. Like there's a whole nother level he didn't even hit for this movie, but he was fantastic in this role. I give most of the props to Ryan Coogler, and he also had a writing partner, Joe Robert Cole, on this movie.
Mhm.
The two of them, they had a vision that I'm sure was a different concept, early on, right? Um,
Yeah, I read a
After
little bit
losing
about that.
Chadwick,
That
and
yeah, yeah,
it can be easy. It this has to be the most difficult thing to have an idea of what your next movie is going to be, spend so much time on it, and because of this tragic passing of Bozeman, flipping the entire script and trying to come out with something wasn't going to be as good as your original concept. I can't imagine
yeah.
how difficult that is. But I'll start with just general thoughts. The actor who played Namor was fantastic. You already mentioned Letitia Wright. She was fantastic. She took her acting skills to a whole nother level. Yes,
Yeah.
Angela Bassett deserves at least an Oscar nomination for this role.
At the very least, the
You can
very
take
least.
you will not take your eyes off of her the entire movie. I promise you. She is an absolute boss in this movie. I mean, I'm not trying to diminish anybody else's role, but she really is sort of like the adult almost in this cast of young, hip, interesting, fun, cool characters.
Yeah,
She is the goat. She is, and she shows it, and it's fantastic. I was always curious how Bozeman's real life passing would be incorporated into this film. Would they do something like, did he die at the hands of a villain? That would have
hmm
been a very unique and bold decision. And I won't go into specifics, right? I said no spoilers, but the way they actually decided to use the passing of T'Challa in the story was bold, and it
yeah,
was beautiful, and it added another layer to this movie I wasn't expecting. I was happily surprised. The action, you're going to get action in a Marvel movie. You're going to get, the comedy was on above par. The
yeah.
the comedy, the jokes in this movie were fantastic. The banter between characters. This honestly also felt more like a I already forgot the word, but more of an ensemble piece than the original. And I think
Yeah,
in a lot of
yeah, that's
ways
me.
it in a lot of ways it helped. Like everybody had, even though this is probably mostly Shuri's, she's the focus in this one, it really felt like an ensemble piece. Everybody got their fair share of screen time. It wasn't one person above anyone else, and I love that. The world building that Ryan does in this movie is incredible. The changes he makes to Namor's character, I won't go into specifics yet, but it wasn't a kind of a throwaway. It meant something. There's reasons behind this, and we'll talk about those reasons in our spoiler discussion. All in all, I've seen this movie twice. It's almost a 3 hour movie. I wasn't
Lucky.
bored ever. I wasn't bored ever. I had a great time, and we'll talk about exactly what that is. And by the end of our review, we're also going to give our Geekcast rating. Hope you guys stick around for that because we want to hear from you guys well, and let us know what you thought about that. But this is a fantastic movie. It's very different than anything else that Marvel's done, and I know I
Yeah,
say that a lot, but to, in all honesty, like they really tried a lot of new things in here. A lot of it worked. I enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see what happens from here, because it feels like it's a whole new genre that they're opening up for the MCU. A whole number of things can sort of take place after this movie. So yeah, I love this
Well,
one, and we'll talk about why.
yeah, I was gonna say real quick before we move on. I feel like the first Black Panther movie did the same thing too. Was like as far as you say, as far as feeling different than the other ones. I know Marvel has certain beats I have to hit, and this is not a knock on them because when I watch a Marvel movie, I know what I'm going to see. It's like watching a Fast and Furious movie to me. It's like I know what I'm getting when I bought my ticket, and I'm expecting what I paid for, and thank you for giving it to me. But just like with the first Black Panther, it did something a little different, a little. I mean, still beside the fantastic elements, a little toned down, and I feel like honestly that kind of keeps the Black Panther comics really because when you read them, especially Tahisi Coates' run. I don't know if you got to read like I think I have volume one, Nation Under Our Feet. I don't think I got the other ones yet, but like those are very like I feel like Black Panther stories are sometimes more heartfelt than people expect.
Yeah.
Because he's always trying to balance being a king and a hero and all this other stuff together. So I felt like this was in those same veins of really. It's more of a movie. Don't get me wrong, but it's like you said, it's a very different feeling
Oh,
from the
absolutely,
others.
completely.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Alrighty. That will end our non-spoiler section of this review. If you haven't seen the movie and you don't want to be spoiled, pause this video on your TV screen, go check out Wakanda Forever, come right back, and we'll finish this
Yeah.
discussion. But Joe, we'll start with you, sir. This is spoiler talk now. You've been warned. Joe, let us know what really worked for you in this movie. Some elements of the film that really worked for you. Take one or two. Let us know what you think.
Well, elements that worked were the incorporation of, like you said in the beginning of the film, uh, which was a welcome surprise, is how they dealt with T'Challa's passing, and that was, and
Whew.
again, they're already pulling at your heartstrings with the intro, and it's nothing. It's not your stereotypical MCU intro. It's a bunch of flashes of Chadwick Boseman, dead silence, no music, and then you're going strictly from that into the passing of T'Challa and the way they did it, through some type of virus, disease, whatever you want to say that he encountered, and you're seeing Shuri trying to desperately save her brother, and you're hearing the AI that she has telling her what his heart rate is and all that, and it's really starting to decline. And you even have I guess the other people that are trying to help as far as the medical team, and they're telling her, go be with your brother, go be with your brother, but she's desperately trying to recreate that heart-shaped herb,
Yeah.
and she can't get it, and there's the AI is telling her it's like a 20% something match, and they stop telling her what the heart rate is, and then you just see the mom Romanda come in, and
Yeah.
Sherry already knows what's up, and then from that point on, she's kind of like, I think in a way, she's mad at herself, she's mad at the situation, and she's mad that she wasn't able to save her brother, you know so even this, the funeral scene and all that you see the whole people coming out of Wakanda to celebrate, him and his passing and his life, they're not really mourning per se, they're trying to celebrate what he did for the people of Wakanda, and they even, were honoring him, like they were singing and everything, and they had the mural up there with T'Challa, and even the coffin, and how it was hoisted away by that ship that
Coffin was
came
nice,
in,
by the way.
and it just had the iconic, hands crossed like that, and he's going up, and he's like saying one final Wakanda forever thing to the people, as he's going up. It's very um really well done, and it's very iconic in the way that they have everything going. Symbolism, there's a lot of symbolism there, showing his ascension, to something better, something greater. And as again they kept saying throughout the movie itself, is death isn't an end, it's a beginning to something more, you know so that was something that I appreciated them talking about throughout the film, and also the world building. But especially I appreciated the moments that they had, with the mom kind of trying to help Shuri cope with the passing of her brother, because even though time had passed, she still wasn't over it. And you can't tell people, because firsthand knowledge, knowing this, you can't tell people how to feel, because everybody goes and grieves in their own special way and deals with death in their own way. So you just got to kind of let them ride out that wave and only support, but you can't tell people how they should feel. And Shuri was going through those stages of grief where at this point in the film, she was mad. She was angry. She had a lot of resentment, a lot of built up hatred. And that's just going through those stages, But when you have Namor being introduced, and then you get to see his history, and that world building there, showing the Indian people, and they take you into the city that, you know, that he's from, Telocan. That was pretty cool. How they had the Aztecian references, you know, uh, to Namor and then the city and how they tied all that in. It's a big departure from the way that the character is portrayed in the stereotypical comic books for for Marvel. So making that more of a reference towards the Latino people, the Latino community, the Aztecas, Aztecs, and all that. That was really cool to see, because I was just telling Tommy, I mean, it was good to see the brown people being represented on the screen too, because it's like basically this whole movie is minority based, which is great to see, because it's one of the movies that's one of the top grossing films of 2022, uh, second only to was it the Multiverse of Madness, which is 100 and I believe 87 million is what it grossed, and I believe right now you had Namor at 180. I believe it was like $7 million difference.
Yeah,
Yeah,
domestically it was 180.
basically. So I mean, that's saying a lot, So I know that minorities like me and Tommy and yourself, Ted, we're thrilled that the brown and black people got their screen time, and I was really happy, because you never really see somebody of Latino descent portrayed as a really high end superhero or anti-hero at this point. And that was something that I think was going to inspire a lot of kids, because they're like, hey, there's somebody that looks like me, and that's important. Representation in film does matter, and this is one of those things that you can say they did really well. The representation and the way they just wove the story together. And I was really happy with it. It was a bit long, I'm not gonna lie. There were some times where the movie did dip on the border of being a little too long, as far as it being hitting you with boredom at times. There felt like there was just the movie kind of stretched itself out a little bit more than it needed to. But everything, when you look at it, when you start thinking about it, it was important in some way or form. And the one big thing that this film did do is officially introduce mutants into the MCU, because that's what you heard Namor say, mutant. You heard the word finally coming from a character, not from somebody else, or not trying to
not the internet and Twitter. So.
Not trying to be cute, but just saying, no, there was a mutation, and then have the cute X-Men animated film, the intro be playing in the background. No, they finally said it. So that means that as old as Namor is, that you can officially say now that mutants have been in the MCU for quite some time. I mean,
there you go.
If you're going based on history, he was born in like the 15, 17, something of that nature.
15,
yeah, the 16.
So
well, because I think in the comics he's actually referred to as the first mutant. Well, no, Apocalypse is the first. No, I take that back. No, but publication wise, I think Namor was called the first mutant publication wise, but the actual first mutant was Apocalypse.
Yeah, because his character was actually introduced in Marvel lore, I believe, in 1939. So
he was old by because as much as I hate Namor, I do give him his props for his comic book longevity, because he actually fought alongside Captain America and guys like that back in the day.
He even helped in World War II and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
but yeah. I don't think Namor's a bad character. I just hate him. There's a difference. I mean, I hate Megatron, but he's a great character. So.
Oh yeah, no doubt. But I think that's the thing that they did a lot of good in, is they went ahead and they had that world building, showing how the Atlanteans came to be, and how they have their own god, and that's one of the things that I thought was really interesting to me, because when you go with the indigenous people that are all over the world here, everybody has a different belief in a higher deity, and I think that's a great contrast in style, showing you that the Wakandan people have their deity, I forgot the name of the Panther god that they pray to.
I think Bast, because
Bat.
actually the funny part is when the movie starts, I almost missed it, but you can actually hear Shuri praying before
Yeah,
she says, "Bast, if you help me save my brother," or something like that, and she says, "I'll never not believe you," or something to that effect.
yeah,
And main reason I know that's because there's like full disclosure, when Black Panther 1 was in development, me and a friend of mine are Black Panther fan nuts. So we were like we were schoolgirls, like, oh my god, it's happening. So that was us. That was us. That you should have seen our faces when Chadwick Boseman was announced as Black Panther. If we'd have been doing the show then, I would have been talking still. Instead, would have been had to mute my mic at some point while we were doing
oh. No, but it was really good though, the way that they had the different cultures representing their
Mm-hmm.
deities, and kind of showing that contrast too, where they have the heart-shaped herb, and the Atlantean people, Namor's people, they have an herb as well, but it grows underwater, and they still have to crush it up and partake of it and all that kind of stuff, which is cool to show that there's a connection there. And I thought that's what they did right off the bat, show that connection, how they're different, but they're still similar in a lot of ways, and they're kind of like people, both these let's say civilizations want to remain secret. They kind of just want to live away from the outside world with any of that, without any outside interference, let's say, because they know that they both contain a lot of power, and that can corrupt the world and put it into dire straits. So they want to keep all that stuff a secret and keep it with their people, which is kind of like culture in a way. You want to have that mean something to you,
Yeah.
to your people, So I love the way that they were able to portray that. So a lot of world building here, and a lot of good things that came out of this. The only thing is that they really didn't introduce anybody else that was new on the scene except for Riri, and I think
Riri. Yeah.
she got a little
Yeah.
bit of screen time, not a lot, but again, there was a lot of characters on screen, and I respect what they did. They knew their limits, so they're like, you know what, let's not try to introduce too many characters. They have Namor, and then they have Riri, and they had the cast of characters that were returning for the film. So as far as the balance goes, I think they did a great job in that regards. It's just I guess you could say the pacing at times was a little slow, but overall, great, enjoyable film. I thoroughly enjoyed it from start to finish, and I think it sets things up in a really interesting way for future Black Panther films to come.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I agree. I think when you say they didn't introduce a lot of new people, I think the characters that we did get, they are like they are they feel like they're in the background, but I think they're really going to be people we're going to be seeing kind of regularly going forward. Characters like Namora, Atuma, like they kind of feel like they're just henchmen or lieutenants, but like no, I
No,
think there's
they're
more to it, and we're going to be seeing these cats
yeah.
pretty soon
Yeah, you
again.
kind of get the hint at the end of the film that there's going to be some type of civil unrest going on with the in the city of Telocan, and
Yeah.
against Namor, because some of these characters aren't seeing the same vision that he is.
I kind of hope
Yeah.
that happens because in the comics, Atlanteans were always like it would be amazing how like yay Namor, he would do one thing wrong, boo, new king. It's like, and I
Mhm.
was like, well, no wonder he's a jerk. Y'all can't make up your mind. So
Nope.
so, but no, I like the Tuma because he was the first dude I'd seen in any of these movies that actually gave Okoye the hands. I was like, dude, he is running her pockets right now. I can't believe it. Okoye is getting her pockets red. I did what? That's why I did that. I actually thought to myself, oh, he's a problem. Oh,
Oh yeah.
he's a problem.
Oh yeah. I was like, oh, you better not. You better not
Yeah,
You better not take out Armachon. Leave her
yeah. No,
alone
I was
right
like,
now.
no. Ryan Coogler ain't that crazy. It's like there are a lot of people who I know I'm safe if they die in this movie. Okoye ain't show anyone.
Yeah, but she needed a power up to really go
She
throw hands with
Yeah,
them.
but no, yeah. She finally is someone who can actually run hands with her because I mean,
Yeah.
how many dudes did she kill in the first movie? I mean, how many of the Outriders did she kill in Infinity War? I mean, it was
Yep.
like we should that scene should have been okay. We'll go figure out how to fix Vision's Infinity Stone. Okoye, kill all of them. Yeah, I got this. There's like a million of them. So
With
I
one
get to.
spear, with just a spear.
She's like, they're like, there's a million of them, so I have to dig a million graves. Okay, sounds like fun.
Tommy, I want to hear from you now. What really worked for you well in this film?
Um, I gotta be honest, man. I don't think there was anything that didn't. I felt like the slow pacing was because if it, you know what, and this may be sacrilege to some people, but I almost felt kind of Godfatherish that way with the slow pacing, as in they were really trying to tell the story and let it build on its own because it was so emotional. And I feel like if they had gone too fast at certain points, you'd have missed some of the emotion. I liked it when Riri came on screen because she was the levity we desperately needed because it was getting so emotional at the time, and she was hilarious, and she stood like no chance when she was like picking up heaters and like threatening to throw them at Okoye. I was like, I think I said out loud in the theater, I said, "Oh, sweetie, put it down. You don't even understand." I think one person who should get a lot of props also is Winston Duke
Yes.
because he okay, back to being a big Black Panther fan from even before the movies. Me and a friend of mine both were like, "Who is Winston Duke, and how are they going to cast him as Man Ape?" I was like, "Because first of all, they're going to use that name." Was thrilled they didn't because that could have been a problem. Twitter would have lost their
Yeah.
minds. But then in Black Panther 1, Winston Duke, a dude I had no idea who he was, never seen him in anything before, and I walked out of the movie saying, "Why was he like in the top 3 of the best characters in that entire movie?" Came to this movie, I was like, all right, Winston Duke, what you gonna do? Once again, one of the best characters in the entire movie. And I felt like he was like not trying to replace T'Challa anyway, but he was just trying to be a big brother for Shuri. And I love that. I was like, he was like, he's like saying, your brother wanted me to look after you after he was gone. And I was like, you know what? T'Challa would do something like that. That makes total sense. And he was
Absolutely.
this. Yeah, he was the serious comic relief. I know that sounds weird, but that's how I saw he was the serious comic relief because he was still himself. When he walked in that scene eating that carrot, I did think I was going to make it the rest of the movie. I was going to be thinking about that carrot the entire time. I did the explanation of the. Well, I'll say Atlanteans just because, I don't want to mess up anybody and get in trouble. But I say the explanation of Namor's people, of how they became who they are and their civilization, I thought legitimately was one of the best origin changes I've ever seen because it was still steeped in lore that the MCU established already, and it made sense. Because whenever you change a character's racial background for whatever reason, my first thing is okay, but why would you change it? And B, can it make sense? Namor is very subjective because, as proven with Little Mermaid, can you guys please get over the fact that mermaids have a certain race and just let this go? But but I like the change. I thought, and like Joe said, it's like how they represented, the Aztec, the Mayan people there. I thought was really cool. I was like, and this is for like I do enjoy history, not as much as JC. He loves it way more than me, but I do enjoy history. So it's like to see it portrayed like that was really cool. And it was really interesting to see again, just like with Atuma with Okoye, it was interesting to see an army that could match the Wakandans that wasn't from outer space. That's something outside the Outriders and Infinity War, you just don't see that. You just don't see a Earth-based army that can take them out. So that was different too. But I will say the thing that worked most for me, because I kind of saw it coming, but still blew me away with how they pulled it off, was the ending. Was the very, very end, the last 5 minutes of this movie, and I'm talking mid-credit scene with
Gotcha.
that little, with that little. I saw it coming. I kind of did. There was a part of me that said, why wouldn't Nakia? I said several things. Why wouldn't Nakia be at the funeral? Why is she looking so good in this school in Haiti? Why is she in Haiti and never left? And how did Ramonda know exactly where she was when everyone else didn't? And I didn't say a thing to my wife the whole time. I was thinking, they didn't. They better not have. And so the movie ended. I knew there was a mid-credit scene. I'd read that, but I thought it was going to be something else because I didn't know. When they came back to cut back to Shuri, and then Nakia walks up to the boy, I was like, oh, they did. Because
Hey, I
and
want
I
to
also
ask you something too, Tommy. Did
yeah,
you
what's up?
catch that one conversation that Ramonda was having with Shuri, and she was trying to tell her about this,
She did, yeah.
and she was
I
telling her.
I am not kidding. I forgot about that until you said it just now because I remembered that and I was trying to keep it in my mind the whole movie because I said that's gonna come back, that's gonna come back. But then the rest of the movie happened and I legitimately forgot. But when you said it right now, I completely remember. And I also remember when the AI computer saying that Nakia kept trying to call Shuri. I remember that
Yeah.
specifically, and she wouldn't pick up. And I was like, okay, what's that about? And that last credit scene, man, I that messed me up on another level too. like how you said, like, you know, with the loss of people, and how that, and how, because like I said, that how that made me face it too with some family and friends of mine. That little moment there, I was just like, no, I'm not ready for this. I was okay this whole movie. This last 5 minutes messed me up. Oh, and I got
almost made it.
Yeah, I almost made it. But I felt like the soundtrack too, you know, also like took it to another level. And of course, Kevin Feige said, "You know what, guys? This is a hard year for us. You know what I'm going to do for the soundtrack? Rihanna, please grace us with your presence." And I was like, and at that moment, Kevin Feige has been, with that, he's invited to every cookout for the rest of his life. So it's like,
Tommy, it was kind of funny though, because they have Rihanna, right? And her nickname, they call her Riri, and then you have Riri Williams.
Yeah, Riri Williams. Yep.
There you go. Yeah.
I felt like just like with the first Black Panther, the casting, like, you know, with Tanaka's Namor and the girl who played Riri Williams, I was like, this is great. This is just great. I knew it was going to be emotional. I knew it was going to be a hard watch, but at the same time, though, I don't regret a thing. I'm really glad I saw it. I can't wait to see it again. Don't know when that'll be, but I know whenever it comes out on Disney Plus, Blu-ray, whatever, it's gonna get a definite rewatch of like, the movie's over. I got 3 hours to kill. I'll watch it again.
You got to talk about the most important thing that me and you were talking about off camera before we caught on. The only white person that they have.
Yes.
In this film.
Yes.
Mr.
Everett Ross, aka Mr. Bilbo Baggins himself, came back, ladies and gentlemen, because like in the first movie, the only two white guys were Bilbo Baggins and Gollum, the Tolkien guys, and I'm okay with that. That was my favorite joke that came out of Black Panther 1. I swear, that was my favorite joke. But I love that Martin Freeman always can play a guy who has no idea what's going on, but my God, he's got your back. He's like, I don't know what the hell's happening, but I'm going to help them out. That's for sure. That's what I'm going to do.
I owe them because they kind of saved my life, you know?
Yeah. But you know, with characters like him, you know, I just respect the loyalty. Yeah. And it was really cool, you know, even though it cost him, but you know, the black woman saving the white guy from jail.
Yes, sir.
The crying racists. I can hear them now and I'm loving it.
And the way she smiled at him, Tommy.
Yeah.
The way she smiled when she opened that door.
Oh yeah, the smile was everything. Of course, you know, it's the Niagara. She can do no wrong in my eyes. She's so awesome. She's cool.
Amazing. I got the loudest laugh in my theater both times.
I believe it.
Both times.
A colonizer in chains. Now I've seen everything.
That one, and I completely lost it when Riri looks at Okoye and says, "What you need to be worried about is all that ash on your head," and she like lost it.
Yo,
and it was just so funny.
I you know what I said that moment? She said that, I said the disrespect. I just burned it. I didn't even mean to say it out loud. I said the disrespect.
Oh my gosh!
Oh yeah, that was another thing. Everybody's outfit was fire in this movie. I was like, who dressed them? Because there was not a bad outfit in this entire movie.
No. Especially Angela Bassett. Like every outfit she had on was queen of everything.
Perfect.
I am not ashamed to say I have had a crush on Angela Bassett since as long as I can remember. And over the years, let me confirm for you, as she's gotten older, that crush has just grown. It has not waned in any way, shape, or form, my friends, because she still looks like she could backhand someone into oblivion, and I'm here for it. So
I don't think she's aged at all in the last 25
looks
years,
great.
I would say. I
There's no way she has. There's no way she has.
No, not at
Yeah,
all, not at
and
all.
she sells those same Tina Turner arms. I don't know if you guys ever noticed like that. Like
Oh
she can
yeah.
like, it's like I feel like she like boxes in her spare time and she doesn't tell anybody. So
One thing I wanted to ask you too about Tommy is, I mean, can you? I like the portrayal of how strong, Ramonda was. Angela
yeah,
Bassett's character. She was holding it all together. Like everything is holding. She was holding the whole city, the whole culture of
yeah,
Wakanda together, and just having her just be able to portray such a strong character in that at that point, being a minority herself, is just like
yeah.
she wasn't messing around even when she was
That
talking to all those Senate people.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was like one of the best scenes ever to me. I feel like that is just like a kind of like a black mom thing, like because when they need to step up, they'll do it. One of my favorite interactions in the movie was when they were Ramonda and Shuri were by the fire, and she had the funeral
Yeah.
gowns that she burned hers, but Shuri wouldn't burn her, and she was explaining about seeing T'Challa and everything, and Shuri, still grieving, so that's just a construct in your mind. Instead of shutting that down, her immediate reaction was, "What construct appears in your mind when you think of your brother?" And I was like,
Hey,
that was such a mom way to counter that argument. As like only a mom would think of that.
there you
Someone else
go.
would have argued with her, but a mom, that's such a mom thing to say. And I feel like it's one of the cases where she did the thing where I've seen a lot of especially moms do this. Like I've seen a lot of I know a lot of single parents, between family and friends do this. Is like when your kids especially need you to be that confident voice in a room. No matter how much you're hurting, you do it. And I felt like she was that way for probably not even just the movie itself, but in a meta level for like kind of like the cast and even the audience watching. Everyone probably had their feelings, everything, especially about the movie because the whole recast T'Challa thing going on. And I felt like she was the voice of reason for everyone. And
Yeah.
and this is also coming from a person who I wouldn't mind that they recast T'Challa, but I get why they did. I always say this whenever I talk about this movie. I would like to see him recast. I know they will someday, but in terms of this movie, I completely understand why they didn't do it, 100%.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you have someone like Angela Bassett, who they need her to be that calm presence, even when she broke during her speech to Okoye, I felt like that's the breaking point everyone comes to. You can hold it together, but sometimes, especially when you think your daughter might be dead after your son died a year ago, you're gonna snap on some people. So
Oh, for
that's
sure.
kind of expected. So but like you said, Joe, her portrayal was so good. It's one of the cases where it's like her being regal almost just feels like that was like her natural state almost. And it
Yeah.
was like she was acting, yeah, but come on, that's Angela Bassett. I think she could actually handle herself in the UN for real, and she wouldn't be have too much of a problem. Though them dudes who walked in her with the suits, they look fire too. By the way, I was like, I want to dress like them dudes, man. Where do I get that suit? Of
Yeah.
course,
There you
of
go. There
course,
you go.
and then the Dora bringing in the French mercenaries. I was like, I remember watching that scene out thinking, and you thought this was a good idea. This is the same army that helped hold back Thanos, but you thought, nah, we'll break under their ship. What's the worst that could happen? They
They
could see
already
you
knew. They're
coming.
just waiting for
Right?
him
Yeah,
too.
I was like, they could see you coming a mile away and immediately decimate your army. And oh, look, they let them live. How nice of them. Their heads could have been removed when they brought them in that room.
Hey, one thing I was gonna tell you too, Tommy, that conversation that she had with Shuri over by the fire,
Yeah,
she was kind of alluding, like we said, talking about, what the last post credit scene was. And she
yeah,
was telling Shuri is, I can feel T'Challa everywhere and I can see him,
yeah,
and then when you see that post credit scene, that's when it really hits you like,
yeah,
damn, she was like saying, trying to tell her, but then they got interrupted by Namor, and she was like, I need to tell you something about your brother. And right when she
yeah.
said that, that's when everything broke. But that conversation to me was one of the most important conversations in the
Mm-hmm.
entire film.
Mm-hmm.
It had a lot of meaning there.
Yeah. And I feel like that's one reason why she got so emotional when she met T'Challa the second, or Toussaint,
And she
at the
asked,
end.
did you meet my mom? Did you
Yeah,
meet my mom?
because
Yeah.
when she realized Ramonda had met him, knew who the kid was, and that's what she's trying to tell. I think that brought a lot more perspective for her. Oh wait, no, I'm lying. There wasn't one other thing that really I almost like jumped out of my seat and screamed, "What?" When she took the herb and went to the astral plane and saw freaking Killmonger,
Woo!
dude. When I say I had to grab my seat and not jump up and yell, "What the hell are you doing here?" I'm not kidding, bro. I almost because at the Flix Brew House, so they have like a thing, please be quiet inside and everything. They was about to kick me out. So I was about to jump. Like, what are you doing here? You traitor and backstabber son of a bitch. This is all your fault to begin with.
Yeah, and then Sherry called him out on that on it too.
Yeah. And dude, God bless Michael B. Jordan. I know he's having a busy couple of years because that dude's just in high demand everywhere. But man, he came back in. He was Killmonger for 5 minutes in total in this movie and killed it.
Yeah.
I was like, yep.
Absolutely.
I was like, yep. That's the same guy who we saw in movie 1.
Yeah, but one of the things too, that was another very important conversation because he said,
Oh,
"You
100%.
chose me. You chose me.
100%.
You
Yeah,
chose
man.
me to be here because they were kindred spirits in that regards because of her rage and she wanted to enact revenge. That's why
Yeah,
he was there.
I remember thinking, I was like, when I saw him, I was like, oh, Shuri, don't go down that road, please. We don't need another Killmonger right now.
Because she said the same thing that he said. I want to burn it
Yeah.
all to the ground.
Yep.
I gotta talk about her first because she, what I mentioned earlier in my non-spoiler discussion or topic, that they use T'Challa's death to really push the story forward. It's really Shuri's arc that is the most impacted by T'Challa's death, and the way they used it surprised me. She gives up. If in case it's hard to realize or understand, when I'm watching the beginning of the movie and they're doing the first scene with T'Challa passing, it's very abrupt.
Yeah,
It's very quick and abrupt.
for sure.
And I was sitting there like, I didn't expect it to be that quick. I kind of thought they would use it a little bit more, but then it makes sense by the middle of the movie because you find out that Shuri's entire belief system also ends with T'Challa's passing. The very first line in the movie is Shuri praying for it's praying to her gods to help her to save him. And when those prayers are not answered, her entire belief system goes out the window. And it doesn't return until she decides to burn those garments again at the end of the film. And just like her mom was telling her, when her mom was trying to explain to her the tradition of burning the garments, that's when she felt T'Challa's presence again after burning those garments. Shuri's, in my mind, at the end of the movie, when she's burning her own garments from the funeral, she's actually feeling the same thing. She's finally feeling her brother's presence again, and that's what really hits home. Um, being upset about certain events, losing people we love, it's never easy, um, and it's very easy to be mad at the world. And in this circumstance, Shuri is mad at not just the world, but the entire traditions, the entire religion of her family and her people, because when she needed help the most, those prayers weren't answered. It's bold. It's
Yeah.
captivating. That's such a profound story to put into a comic book movie of all things.
Yeah.
It's serious. It's very serious. It's a big, bold statement. There's a ton of emotion that gets carried with that theme across the entire movie. And like I mentioned, you don't understand her point of view or her point of reference until she starts telling, I think it's M'Baku for the first time, like, nah man, like it's not about tradition, it's not about the religion, it's not about, everything else. And then it made sense when she saw Killmonger instead of any of her ancestors. instead of T'Challa, I was like, cool, she'll see T'Challa. No, because
No.
she doesn't believe in this stuff.
Yep.
To her, there is no astral plane.
Extra
There
life.
is no, magical afterlife. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that was all craziness when all that happened. It was just like, man, it's almost tough to watch because we like her as a character. She's hitting rock bottom, and yet she's kind of playing it really well. Like you don't understand because she's making fun of Okoye. She's, being casual with Riri. All these things with Ross. She's being real chill with Ross. But deep down, she's hit rock bottom. She's
Yeah.
got like nothing left. There's only a couple of people in her life she actually will listen to. Her entire belief system is gone. Like it's really just she's hanging on by a thread, and you
Yeah.
don't see the true you don't see her true self, her true emotions until after that meeting or in that meeting with Killmonger. That's the real Shuri throughout this movie. It's just
Yeah.
we're seeing that for the first time. That was a big surprise to me, seeing that arc, how much they put into it, seeing how many layers were there. And Shuri really carried me throughout the film because the entire time I'm like, oh, please come out of this, please come out of this, please come out of this. And it's tough. It's tough to watch, man.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
yeah.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna say this, but let me preface it with this. 100% Christian raised Baptist over here. So as a person who is, and I say that because I don't want to try to say like I'm pushing on anybody because believe what you will. Everyone's right. But as a person who has had not quite though that crisis to that level or anything like that, but similar crisis, you can have a faith system that you've held on to, and in some way, shape, or form, it shapes core when stuff like that happens. Especially because, like Joe mentioned, with people passing away, kind of in kind of short succession. 2020 hit me like that with a few people, a couple of family members, a lot of friends. And your belief system gets shaken, man. Sometimes you can catch yourself and you can just take time, breathe, a step back. But sometimes, man, it's just like you know what? I don't know, man, if I even have that same feeling anymore. And and sometimes, and I think the amazing part was for Shuri, I don't think she realized how bad it hit her until she saw Killmonger on that throne when she ended up in the astral plane.
Hmm.
I don't even think she knew how bad she was off she was until she rounded that corner and saw him sitting there. So I really do think it's one of the cases, like I think a lot of people, and I think that's why a lot of people can relate to this movie and to her character arc as a whole, because you really don't know how close you are to rock bottom or the fact that you're even there until like one or two moments, like it doesn't have to be on the astral plane. You can be just by yourself thinking, and all of a sudden you realize, man, I am really really not feeling it myself anymore. So
Yeah, she was
yeah,
wrecked,
man.
dude. You didn't even
Yeah,
know it.
it was easily, especially for one movie, it was basically easily one of the best arcs Marvel has ever done for a character. Like,
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, I really did. I know a lot of, it's not everyone's favorite, but I really did enjoy Iron Man 3 because I liked seeing Tony's kind of like vulnerability after his whole incident with, the Chitauri and being in space, everything. I actually enjoyed seeing him kind of have his panic attack moments.
The human
Um,
condition.
the human condition, yeah. Well, I kind of like that in Iron Man 2 as well because, well, I like that in Iron Man 2 because it was inspired by Demon in a Bottle, which is one of my favorite comic stories ever, and highly acclaimed. If anyone ever gets to read it, it's really good. But I really do love it when like a character who you're positive is going to be one way does kind of break a little bit, and she gets it back a bit. I mean, she's not. It's not like she's like all emo and gloomy the whole time. She's still Shuri, but as expected, she's changed a bit, and that makes
Mhm.
sense. But I really, but like you said, Steady, it was great to see. I feel like Ryan Coogler really does have this great eye for, even like you said, this movie being nearly impossible to do compared to given the circumstances, what he already knew he was going to do with with the original idea, and having to switch it up. I feel like that's the sign of a masterful writer and director when you can take a tragedy like this, still acknowledge it, and then make it probably into one of the best stories you could possibly tell.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
one of the things that I wanted to hit on here real quick is the spiritual side of things, and the way that it was portrayed here. And one of the things in particular is one of the things that I've been told numerous times, because I'm part of Apache as well, in
Okay,
Native
nice.
American. So my grandmother would always tell me a lot of stories, and one of the things that she always said was, "You can never become who you were meant to be, or a person can't really ascend and become who they were meant to be until they have the passing of their parents." And I think that was portrayed here with Shuri. She couldn't become
Wow.
who she was really meant, your full potential, in other words, until you've had that happen to you. And she lost everybody, so she was going through some things, and it's almost like a cocoon, like a butterfly coming out of that cocoon. You have to go through that in order to transform into that person that you were really meant to be. In other words, meet your full potential. And the other thing that I saw here is the that both the Atlantean people and the Wakandan people, how prominent it is for them to go into war, to go into battle wearing their vibranium. And where what I've been taught or what I've been told is, like, the Apache people, for example, they have a strong belief in turquoise, the color teal, and especially the stone
Mhm.
itself, because it's like the fruit of Mother Earth. It means life. It means power. And they have a name for it. It's called I I, I want to say it. I don't want to butcher it, but it's called a winalona. And what that means is it's the sun's rays. And
Hmm.
the warriors, the Apache warriors, wouldn't even wear turquoise when they were going into battle on the horses, because they felt that that stone was so powerful that it would weigh the horse down when they were going into battle. So to me, it was a stark contrast in how prominent vibranium is inside of a lot of these, battles that they go into, and how they just prominently wear it.
Yeah.
But going back to it is like, okay, now there's vibranium in the ocean, which is outside of the city, or the civilization of Wakanda, because Wakanda always thought that they had all of it, you know, which means that, to me, it's like, okay, the vibranium came from a meteorite, and it crashed, split up. Some of it went into the ocean, some of it went to Wakanda. But wherever it crashed, it also brought life, and it had different deities as it split. So it means to me that the asteroid actually had a soul. It had life itself. It was alive, and the vibranium is actually fruit of that actual presence, that was inside the vibranium itself. So it's just something that I observed.
I will
Yeah,
put on my comic
absolutely.
book hat. I will put on my comic book hat real quick because I know there's specifically in the comics there's Arctic vibranium. It's not like more powerful, but it's kind of like it has some destabilizing aspects to it. So I don't know if they'll ever bring that in, but if they do, I'm calling it that I mentioned it before anyone else did. So
You heard it here first.
that's right, comic
Yeah, there
nerd
you
here.
go.
Like I laugh all the time because my constant joke with my family whenever they see an MC movie, they have to call me. They're like, "Okay, who was that character?" I'm like, "Oh, suddenly the nerd has to answer all your questions." Well, now that I am all powerful to you people.
Calm down, Namor. Calm down.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but okay, I kind of see where he gets it now. Yeah, that is pretty fun.
It is pretty fun. We've already touched on it a few times. The rewrite or the changing of the origins of Namor was incredible. The
Yeah,
design of the underwater civilization was beautiful. Even the small detail of they don't have bubbles. There's no bubbles anywhere, no air whatsoever because they all have these underwater breathing capabilities. It was just a small detail that just made a whole bunch of effort. You mentioned earlier the music of this film. The song that plays when Namor's taking Shuri down to see Talocan, the song is called Con la Brisa. I've played that song about 100 times in my house since we've seen the movie. My daughter, who's only 3, loves to come up with her own unique choreography and dance moves when hearing music. She's had that on repeat for quite a while now. The music throughout this movie is incredible because it's so different. It's so surprising how they did a number of things. There's some songs on the soundtrack that are just the majority of the music is whistles or taps or clicks, and it's such a great juxtaposition of what we got from the last soundtrack, which was entirely either produced or written by, oh, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name, Kendrick
Kendrick
Lamar.
Lamar. Yeah,
Yeah, and this
he's in my
one,
top. He's in my top 5 ever. So that's why I know that. So
that's why you know that. And
yep.
it was such an incredible album the first time around, and this one is so different because it brings two very different dynamics to a very similar story of these two civilizations that are untarnished by any outside interference. People say like um diversity is important and inclusion is important. It's almost it's almost to me half true that they rewrote these origins because I myself, Joe probably also agrees, uh, our lineage is very muddy. Hundreds of years ago, colonizers, mostly Spaniards, in my history, took over, created a whole mess of people going around the world, raping and pillaging people. But so my family lineage can be traced back to Spain, but these characters in this movie, they don't have outside influence. They are indigenous to those lands. And so yes, representation is great, but also like I also don't want to take full representation because I know it sounds weird, but like no, those people, the people they're trying to show us, like they are one of a kind. They were not I don't even know how I'm trying to say it. There's no outside influences. There are no other mixes or countries involved.
Yeah,
Like they are just pure to those lands, and it's almost like they're just the entire civilization are just gods, in my opinion, because they're just so untarnished by anything else. And I know it sounds weird to say that, so I feel like yes, representation is good, but also like I can't claim that.
Hmm.
That is just pure Mesoamerican indigenous people there that are beautiful, wonderful,
yeah.
fantastic. I love how they incorporated the so many different elements of the Aztecs, the Mayans. They even had the ball game, which is a
I
true
noticed that.
historical game. It's
Yeah.
the stone ring that's on the wall. The game is they actually hit it not with their feet, not with their heads, but their hips, and it's basically sideways basketball, except you use your hips instead of your hands. And plot twist: if you were on the losing team, you get death. That was what you won if
Well, that's
you
where
were
the
the
term
losers.
"sudden death" came from, for real.
Yeah.
Man, that would make
Um,
the NBA Finals really interesting.
Mhm. One of the things we hadn't talked about is some of the similarities that they had to just the lore of Telocan, because Telocan is really an underworld, meaning like an afterlife almost.
Hmm.
So a lot of the Mesoamerican people, the Aztecs, believe that, in some of these, uh, I forget what they actually have a term for them, but there's these big sinkholes that are opened up in the jungle, and they have this just filled with water because of the underground ground caverns, and they have an otherworldly like presence to them, and they would actually sacrifice people to these gods, and throw them down in the water holes, that were more filled up, or was just basically sinkholes.
they would
And
sacrifice him to Kulkulkan.
Kulkulkan, yeah, and basically, I mean, it
after
was
they, after they
kind of a
after they lost the ball game. All right, team B, you guys lost. You know what you got to do. Damn it!
Yep.
one
yeah, but it
one
was
lucky
cool how they
shot. One freaking
represented
lucky
it.
shot.
Yeah, no, it was cool how they represented it all. Even when you went to Telocan, it was all dark. It was because
Yeah,
it's a descent into the underworld. Even the journey there, going into the darkness, letting the current take you, and you felt like you were going further and further and further down. It's a descent into the underworld. Basically, that's what all that meant. And then to have that Mesoamerican style pyramid open up and open
yeah.
that ball of light comes out and just brings life to the darkness. It was a very spiritual, and with all that, the meaning behind all that. And to me, it was is a beautiful thing to see. you know
There's so many details they got not just right, but they also used to kind of create this world. There's a pyramid in the Yucatan that's named El Castillo, and El Castillo actually has like water running underground in caverns, and it's just like all of this freaking ties together. Like there's no stone they left unturned. Like it all has meaning. If you can see in the background, this headdress. I'm gonna make a really bold claim. This is gonna be my Halloween costume next year. I'm gonna just wear the headdress.
Nice,
I'm gonna have the necklace piece on.
nice.
I'm gonna have some wrestling shorts. Tommy, you can help me out. Hook me up with some wrestling.
Yes.
Somebody's
just,
wrestling shorts I can borrow,
just don't take off the
and
shirt, Betty.
I'm gonna work on that. We'll see what happens by next October. Yeah, just there's so much. I don't understand how you have enough time to put and incorporate all these very unique and specific elements. The sign that they would do, the hand over, hand under, like that.
Yeah,
Those are from real, I think, Mayan codices, real drawings, real paintings where those images are depicted with one hand up, one hand down, and those
I
that
did mean
wasn't
to
even
look
in the
that up.
script. That
Yeah.
wasn't even in the script. Tanakh, um, some Alex, I think also Maybell, who played Namora, they actually came up with that. They said, Wakanda Forever has a thing. We probably need a thing, and so they did it, and it really worked out. And
Well,
I've been
see.
screaming, "Niki Talakan!" like every single hour since I've seen these movies. My wife is kind of sick of it that I'm screaming that all day long. But it's
Well,
just so powerful, so moving, so captivating. It was just fantastic.
at this point, I'm kind of convinced Kevin Feige says, "Okay, here are the characters I want you guys to use. Here's what I want you to do. If you guys find out anything significantly, anything culturally significant, do it. Because I'm a white guy and I am not telling you what to do. I'm gonna leave the room now. Whatever you got, come back to me. They can't. Hey, Kevin, we want to do this hand thing. Sounds awesome. Do it. Love it. Get
Done,
out of here."
done. It there's yeah, it's there's so much to like about it. We've already talked about the performances, the
Yeah.
music, the origins. I mean, the action sequences were also fantastic. Okoye
Yeah.
using her spear to launch a police vehicle, like, dude, who does that? Like all those things. It's so cool. I loved it.
Yeah.
The water bombs were just here's how great the water bombs were. They used them a few times in the beginning, right? They like destroyed the car, Shuri's flying, and we're like, oh man, those are terrible. Later, towards the end of the film, when they have like a net and there's like 1,000 of those bad boys, like you could hear an entire like oh my god, and it crossed the theater that I was sitting in,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
I think
like
it was
you
in our
see
theater
what
too.
one does, what are 1,000 of those things going to do? It's like an atomic bomb's about to go off. Like you immediately understood the gravity of that situation when you saw a few whales. I love how many whales were in this movie.
Oh
Just
yeah.
nonchalantly
Yeah.
carrying people. It was just so cool. Yeah, just I loved everything. Quick
Did you
tidbit
really love? Let me ask you something. So you're
Quick
speaking that
tidbit,
you
real
love
quick.
everything.
Lupita Nyong'o, I have to mention this before I forget. She was actually born in Mexico to Kenyan
Yep.
parents,
Yeah. You
and
guys get to
then,
claim her.
well, I won't exactly, because she didn't stay long. I think she left when she was a toddler, but
Yeah.
then she actually came back to study in college. And so when Lupita is actually speaking Spanish, she's a Wakandan spy, is how I explain her to everybody. She's a
Yeah, yeah,
spy of
so divine.
Wakanda, basically. She's James Bond of Wakanda, basically. She
Yes,
knows all
yes,
these languages,
and I want that movie. Sorry.
and the way she's just perfectly enunciating the Spanish language. I had to look it up, and then to my surprise, like not only was she born in Mexico, but she came back and she studied in Mexico in college. I'm like, that's such an amazing story, and now she gets to put all this to good use in this movie. Sorry, Joe, you were saying something.
No, you're saying how much you loved every aspect of the film. You know, you're talking about the even the character designs and all that. The
Yeah,
one thing that I did not like at
let's
all
do it. Let's get it.
is Ironheart, man. Like that whole armor, dude. It looked like it was bad, dude. I'm not even gonna lie. It looked like something straight out of Spy Kids from back in the day, man. It was horrible, horrible, horrid. I'm like, dude, I could have done a better job. Give me 10 minutes, man. I'll get you something
Oh,
better.
that's hilarious.
It looked bad.
The second suit is what you're talking about. Is it just the special effects or just the design of the suit?
The design was horrid, dude. Like
I
that's the
gotcha.
best y'all could do, man. Like it looked like I'm saying, man, if you go back and you watch that Spy Kids movie, I think it was what when they were stuck in that other in the game, you know, where there was
Oh,
like
that
spy
was 3, I think. Yeah.
3, yeah. Because I remember taking my son to go see that, and I was like, man, what in the Spy Kids thing am I seeing on screen right now? I was like, no, dude, it didn't work for me. I was like, nah, I ain't having that. They need to do something better next time.
Yeah, it was
I felt
very
like that was
different
just
than the comics.
yeah, I felt like that was just her Mark One armor, well, Mark Two technically. So her Mark Three will probably look exactly like the Ironheart armor she gets in the comics when she became like a what, like a Stark internee unofficially. So
It was not my favorite design. Let's just put it like that.
fair
I
enough.
just
I
didn't
gotcha.
like it. Didn't care for it.
That's
I
hilarious.
gotcha. Is there anything, Tommy? I know you kind of teased this earlier. Is there anything that didn't really work for you?
Uh, well, like I said, I hate Namor in general, so no, it's just I really. The more I think about it, like no, it's like I really can't think of anything. It's just, I will say this: I know it had to happen, but Ramonda dying did hurt a lot. I was like, no, not everyone's mom, no. So that hurt a little bit, but I get why it happened. It was just like, ugh. Angela Bassett then in any movie and then not in it at all anymore is a loss to me at all times. Like, no, she should always be in everything forever. So,
You know, one thing, Tommy, that we didn't talk about, dude, and I think me and
what's
you
that?
both will probably agree on this is Wakabi, dude. They mention him, and they have the dude in a prison, like he's held up somewhere, right?
Yeah,
But they
yeah,
didn't show him on screen. I'm just like, okay,
yeah,
you he there was consequences for what he did in the first film. Okay, I get
yeah.
that. You know, he's put up somewhere, but didn't even show him or nothing. You know, and then they mentioned to Okoye, hey, at least you can still go back and see him. Like they have conjugal visits. I mean, what's going on here?
Now that would be hilarious. Let's just start there if that's the case. But I remember that they said Deo Kalua is like he's like his schedule is like swamped, which makes sense because dude's been in demand ever since Black Panther 1 and Get Out. But
Mhm.
yeah, that would have been cool to see because I would actually have loved to see his reaction to hearing T'Challa pass. I would love to see
Yeah.
is he mad at himself because part of the movie was his fault in the first place? Sorry, I blame him a lot for the plot of Black Panther 1. It's like, you idiot. It's like, well, you didn't catch my father's killer. How do you think this lying son of a bitch got him in the first place? So yeah,
Well,
I took that personally in case you didn't notice.
No, man.
and you know,
And
we
that,
didn't even talk
I'm
about
gonna.
Allegra de Fontaine, and yeah, she was married to Ross.
Oh man,
You know,
yeah.
like what?
That's because I
What's
got mad at her,
going
and
on?
I was like, man, forget you. Yeah.
And he tried to call her Val when she's going to arrest him. Val. She goes, no, it's director Devontaine or something like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, now he's director.
I hope her pockets get ran in thunderbolts. Anyway,
Did you hear what that joke though that she told him, dude? That had me laughing. She goes, hey, maybe I can go to your house later on so I can ride your Peloton.
man, dude, I was like,
No
this is
shame.
mad. It's like no shame at all, dude. Man, this is mad. Like, it's like, wow, okay.
You know, I
Thirsty, Val? Are we
if
not?
I have to say anything that kind of didn't work for me, it might have been some of the scenes with them in it, because
Or like, yeah,
they overall they don't have any stakes with our plot for a good reason. They can't
No.
know who Namor and his people are. You know,
hmm
we have to keep them a secret. We also cannot let them know that there is vibranium down here. That has to remain a secret as well, or else once everybody starts getting a hold of vibranium, then all hell's gonna go, to loose. Um, so I guess they're in the movie specifically because we need to see how the outside world is reacting to these events that are happening.
yeah,
It kind of gives um, more drama to everything if there's somebody on the outside kind of giving their own opinion about, or questioning what's happening. But other than that, like, I could have lost them. I could have just had them out of this
yeah,
movie. It would have
yeah.
saved us another 20 minutes and I would have been fine with that. But
I feel like that's
like I
also just helps set up Thunderbolts whenever it comes out,
oh
Yep.
just to
yeah,
show how
they're
diabolical Fontaine can be.
we are right there. Yes, that is right
Yeah,
around the corner. So yeah, also that connective tissue. It is the MCU. I feel like these are the scenes that Kevin Feige said, "Look, you can do whatever you want. I just need these couple of things, and that's it. Then I'll be out of your way." He just left a nice little note on Ryan's desk. He says, here you go. Just take care of this, and I'll be out. You won't even know I'm here. I'll be out. I'll be outside. Yeah, I feel like that's what always happens is you have to have the connective tissue. Here we go. Cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything else that I really can't say that really didn't work for me. This movie does go on a little bit long, but like I said, it's not the worst thing. The last act, I
I
could have used a little bit of a longer last act. I honestly, it was a great battle. It was a great sequence, and I could have gone another 5, 10 more
yeah.
minutes of it. To be honest.
Yeah, I actually didn't even notice how long the movie was until we left the theater. I really didn't.
Yep. Yeah. So I think
Yeah.
we need to start bringing it to a close here and start going around and
Sure.
giving our what we were going to go ahead and rate it. I guess we'll go ahead and start with you, Teddy, since
Oh
you're
no, we can. That's fine. I never start with myself, but yes, this is a part of the show when we give you our Geekcast rating. It is a 1 to 5 scale. One being what are we saying now? One being is it still Thor 2 that we're calling a
well.
one?
Maddie said we have to give it the feet rating now based on House of the Dragon.
Oh, we ain't doing
Oh
that.
God, no,
That was
no,
Marvel.
come on.
But
Ah,
one being the lowest you can think of, and then 5, in my opinion, still being Captain America: Winter Soldier. That's just how I call it. But yeah, we want to hear from you guys. Let us know what your rating is, and we're gonna give ours as well. Mine's pretty simple and straightforward. I give this movie a 4.5, and that's a 4.5 out of 5. It's fantastic. It's great. I loved a lot of it. There's not a whole lot I would want to change, and I know my rating probably doesn't feel like I'm saying there's not a lot wrong with it, but I also think that there's a bigger story that is
yeah,
around the corner here. If we
Oh
get to
yeah.
a Black Panther 3, and I'm sure we will,
I think they
can
said they were
you
talking about doing.
absolutely, can you imagine when Namor and his people and Wakanda, they are out, doing things around the world. That's when you get to like a 5 rating, when
Yeah,
the stakes are on a global level. This is a very not encased story, but it's there are ramifications that
confined.
could take place. Yeah,
Yeah,
very confined story. There are ramifications. Things can go really bad globally if it goes one way or the other. But maybe in the future movie, we'll see that. But 4.5 for me. Joe, what about you?
Still, well, I'm going to go with you too. I think it was a solid film. At Mimmin also give it a 4.5. Can't say it was better than The Winter Soldier because I think to me that again is a pinnacle as well uh, in the MCU. But again, really solid film, 4.5. Got to say right now it's probably the best MCU film that's been released this year. It's still the tops to me.
Yeah, Phase 4. I think I might be on board with you. This is probably the best movie out of Phase 4, and that starts with what, Black Widow? I think is
Yeah,
the first
Black
one.
Widow.
I think Black Widow, yeah, is the first one. Yeah.
Yeah,
T-
and then of course you
Tommy.
had the Eternals and
Oh, yeah. I forgot about Eternals. Shows how what we think about that one. But Tommy, your turn, sir. Your Geekcast rating. What do you give it?
I gotta give it a 5, man. I've been saying it since it came out. But it's a personal thing with me. So I as a diehard Chadwick Boseman fan, and I mean it. Like I've been a fan of his ever since 42.
Ooh, yes.
Like full disclosure, like a lot of my writing stuff, I always dreamed one day I get to write a book he would always act in. Of course, that would never happen. But I always dreamed of making a character he'd like want to portray or something like that. But man, for the movie, the tour de force that it was, I think it's mostly emotions that made me feel more than anything. So for my money, I gotta give it a 5.
I love it. That brings our Geekcast rating to a
Yep.
4.67, one of the highest ratings we've given a movie by far, and
Nice.
not too
Awesome.
shabby, as I always say. But again, we want to hear from you guys, yeah, watching this video, or if you're listening to us on the podcast version of this episode, be sure to email us on the contact page of our website at www.countdowncitygeekcast.com. Thanks everybody for watching and listening. We really appreciate it. Be sure to check back later
Indeed.
this week with the Geekcast as we continue our discussion on Andor as well as DC's Titans, which is showing some promise this season. We'll see if it holds true. Joe knows what I'm talking about. Also, WrestleCast is dropping this Thursday. They got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Be sure to check that out. And Ghost Heads Radio will be giving you all the details of the Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed video game, which I am now officially playing. Thank you. As well as some very important dates, some events that our local Ghostbuster team has coming up. So be sure to check back Wednesday night for the Ghost Heads radio show. But for the Geekcast, my name is Ted, aka Steady. Joining me on this episode is the man behind the magic, you know him as Joe Garcia.
Yeah, thanks again for watching, everybody, and make sure you subscribe, like, share, get the word out about the Countdown City Geekcast, and also make sure you go and check out everything they're doing over at the Ghost Heads, and of course at the Countdown City WrestleCast with the one and only Tommy here.
And thank you to Tommy. Appreciate you, brother.
Hey man, thank you guys. And I was so thrilled to come talk to this with you guys. Thanks so much for having me.
Always, you're always welcome, Tommy.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Take it easy, folks. Have a great week. Peace.